Hey guys, it's Chris. From hundreds of cats to being swamped by bunny rabbits, here are 8 islands that are run by animals. Number 8, Christmas Island crabs. Christmas Island is located in the Indian Ocean, and to the regret of its human population, it has a weird yearly tradition in terms of its crab population. And how so? Well, it has to deal with the cycle of life. The crabs of this island usually live in the forest, but when the mating season comes around, they'll go en masse to the beach. That way they can mate and lay their eggs. To the outside observer, there may not be a problem with this. As noted, it's part of life for these animals. However, it's not the act that gets people angry. It's more like the sheer number of crabs that do this. There are millions of crabs that perform this migration every year. It's been documented that the roads on Christmas Island actually have to be shut down as the crabs overtake just about everything in their path as they make their way to the beaches and then back again. The crab population takes about a week to do its business before returning to the forest. So if you're planning on visiting Christmas Island, just make sure you do it on the crabs off season, okay? Number 7, Cat Island. For some people, Cat Island in Tashirojima, Japan, may be a paradise of sorts, because on this island is a plethora of cats, all of which are strays due to the abandoning of their owners. As to why this happened, well, in the 1950s, there used to be about 1,000 people that lived in Tashirojima, but slowly they all moved away. And when they did, they just left the cats behind. Now there's less than 100 people on the island, and the cats far outnumber the people that remain there, thus making it a true cat island. What's interesting, though, is that the cats were on the island not just as pets, but actually as protectors. Because originally, the island was known for being a farm for silkworms, of which they would use the silk on their textiles. Mice would go after the worms, though, so cats were brought in to protect the worms and eat the mice. But when the business dried up, the cats were all left behind. If you feel bad for the cats, though, you should know that they're actually really well taken care of. Tourists come to Cat Island by the thousands to see all of these cats in their natural habitat. And in Japanese culture, it's good fortune to feed a cat. So these cats never starve. It should be noted as well that there are other cat islands scattered around the world, but Japan's is easily the most famous of the bunch. Number 6, Snake Island. Snake Island, as it's called, is off Sao Paulo in Brazil. Anyone who sets foot on Snake Island is risking death just by being there. Now, you could also be arrested by going on the island too, so I guess you could just sort of choose which you think is the worst punishment. Long ago, the island had a connection to the mainland of Brazil. Because of that, the snakes went from the mainland to the island to live. But over time, the waters around the island rose, and the path back to the mainland was literally drowned out. This made it so the snakes were well and truly stuck on this island. But what makes Snake Island so deadly, though, is that there aren't just snakes there. There are numerous breeds of venomous snake. One such example is the golden lancehead, which is one of the most poisonous snakes on Earth. And what's worse, to survive on their new home, the lanceheads had to evolve their hunting strategies. As such, they can strike from the ground, in the trees, and virtually anywhere in between, except for the water. The aggressiveness and deadliness of these snakes is why Snake Island is off limits to just about everyone. In fact, the restrictions against the island are so strict that only the Navy and certain scientists are allowed to go there at all. That being said, people do get curious and they find ways to sneak onto the island, which is why there's a casualty count when it comes to the snakes there. And now for number 5. But first, if you're new to World List, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. We don't want you to miss out on any videos like these. Number 5, Rabbit Island. Japan has a very interesting history in regards to how animals take over their islands. And in the case of Okunoshima, it is most definitely interesting to go from what it was to how it is now. Meaning from a chemical weapons plant to an island now overrun by rabbits of all shapes, sizes, and breeds. Originally, the island wasn't inhabited. And then, during a time of war, forts were built on it to protect it from invaders. And even then, only a few families lived on the island in the proper sense. However, in 1925, the Japanese government decided to implement a secret plan to build a chemical weapons plant. At the time, this was highly illegal via the Geneva Convention, and Japan went to extreme lengths to make sure people didn't know about this plant. Once completed, it was used to make tear gas and mustard gas, and much of it was used during World War II during campaigns in China. However, after their defeat in World War II, the island was abandoned for the most part, and the chemical plant was destroyed. So now you're probably wondering, where do the rabbits come in? Well, the rabbits were used in the chemical plant. They were used as test subjects to test the effectiveness of the weapons they made. And once the plant was closed down, a park was put on the island to make it a better place. And they decided to just let all the remaining rabbits they had loose. Rabbits being rabbits, well, they started to populate the area. And now, rabbits roam wild and free on Okinoshima. Number 4. Pig Beach. The Bahamas are considered one of the most premier vacation spots in the world, mainly because there are so many islands to roam and relax in. One of the plethora of islands is called Exumas, which has a particular island that many people go to for a very odd reason. They want to swim with pigs. And that's true. There is a small island in the district of Exumas that's called Pig Beach, solely because there's a large group of feral pigs that roam the island and swim in the beaches that surround it. To be clear, there aren't hundreds of pigs on the island. There are only a couple dozen depending on the count in the year. Now, as far as how this group of pigs made it to this particular island in the Bahamas, well, no one's really sure. But there are plenty of legends that make guesses about it. For example, one very outlandish legend states that a group of sailors actually sailed to this island, dropped off the pigs, and intended to come back and eat them, but they never returned. Others say that the pigs swam there via a shipwreck, or were part of a business deal, or that these pigs were nomads from another island. But no definitive account of this pig exodus is known. Not that this bothers the tourists, mind you, because Pig Beach gets many tourists who come to feed the piglets and swim with them. Number 3. Assateague Island. In the United States, the place known as Assateague Island is home to a large population of horses and ponies, and they've been a part of this island for a very long time. Now, the rumor is that these horses and ponies were survivors of a shipwreck from a very long time ago. Ever since that point, they've roamed the island, even though there are people on it as well. After all, Assateague Island is in Maryland, a very populated state. Mainly, the island is used for fishing, hunting, and swimming, and the occasional ranch of horses and ponies. Now, there's actually a bit of a disagreement over whether the majority of the horses are indeed horses or if they're ponies. People get really distinctive about this, and it's caused problems in the past. Though the horses are allowed to roam free for the most part, the state has put restrictions on the population in terms of size, and so at certain points, the horses and ponies will be wrangled up and sold off to ensure that the population numbers stay within the lines. Still, the horses get to roam around the island freely when not contained, and often frolic around the beach and swim in its waters. Number 2. Kauai, Hawaii. The Hawaiian Islands are a paradise where many animals live and thrive. And on the island known as Kauai, there is a large race of roosters, chickens, hens, and chicks that run rampant across the island. This may not seem bad at first, but as with all animal populations, when they're not controlled, they can cause an imbalance in the ecosystem. On various other Hawaiian islands, the mongoose is present to balance out the chicken population. But on Kauai, they don't exist, nor is there any predator to these chickens. The chickens themselves are descendants of Polynesian chickens that were brought to the island as good fortune. These chickens later mated with European chickens and actually evolved to become something even more, which has fascinated biologists. They have adapted to eat all sorts of food, which no doubt lends to their large population numbers. And number 1. Seal Island. South Africa is host to many creatures both on the land and in the waters that surround the country. And a few miles away from Cape Hope is an island that's the literal definition of overrun by animals, because this is Seal Island. Specifically, this particular island is home to Cape Fur seals, 64,000 of them within a 5-acre area. The island itself is remarkably flat, and there are only little scrapes of human habitation made during certain parts in history. There's also no vegetation that grows on this island, and that may make you wonder why the seals would live here at all. And the answer is that it provides protection from the threats that live in the waters. For while the seals do go into the water to get fish to eat, those same waters hold their greatest predators, the great white shark. And that here is the true irony of Seal Island. Because of the large population of seals, that's the thing that actually attracts the great white sharks to them, which is actually why visitors sometimes go to Seal Island. Not just to see the seals, but to see the sharks go and do their thing. Thanks for watching. Can you believe that all these islands are overrun by these animals? Which one would you like to visit? Think I want to go to the one with the rabbits. Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you next time on World List.